Oh, yeah. It's like, wait, what?
Houdini.
That light flashing up is
Don't look at me. Hey everyone, this is Alex with Unicorn Riot. I'm here in Denver, Colorado, about to interview Portia, who is an unhoused resident here. The COVID pandemic has been affecting Denver in several ways. There has been a stay-at-home order in place directed by Denver's Mayor Hancock. It started yesterday at 5 p.m., so it's almost been going for 24 hours at this point. However, there are thousands of people who don't have houses to go to. So right now, I'm going to ask Portia some questions about their experience living on the streets during this stay-at-home order in Denver. So Portia, if you don't mind, if Portia's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then if you don't mind saying, I guess let's go specifically to what's different with the pandemic stay-at-home order being in place, how if that has changed your situation living outside, or why you've chosen to live outside rather than seek shelter.
I say it has changed because there's already sickness in the shelters, so it's kind of just like created a paranoia about people coughing and stuff like that, so it creates like a lot of drama because some people really want to force you to wash your hands and not cough. And then the resources have had to change schedules with feeding routines and the way they run day shelters, like to keep a 6-foot distance or to have hand washing stations in the feeding rooms or like in the surrounding areas of the shelters. But yeah, it's like some are closed completely. Like some companies have half their resources closed, like MHCD. The gathering place is still open, but it's like only for females and transgenders. So.
And what's MHCD?
Mental Health Center of Denver. The DRM is still open like as a day shelter, but it gets like very packed, and that's like one of the, I guess, most toxic like environments out of all the shelters you could really put yourself in.
How so?
I mean, they have staff members, it's monitored and stuff, but I mean, it's kind of like you only can keep an eye on so many people, and there's different things here and different characteristics of different people. Some are good, some are bad, so you have your fights and all that, and none of these places can hire security that can actually like protect or put their hands on people, even if it's to restrain them. So if a fight happens, and innocent people can get involved because sometimes drugs are involved and can get pretty violent, and people have been fighting more often lately at the DRM from what I've heard from some people that do go in there.
And DRM is the Denver Rescue Mission,
Rescue
right?
Mission, yeah,
And
Jesus
that's
saves.
all male.
Yeah, that's an all-male shelter, and they have some programs, but during the day, males and females are allowed to go in there to eat, because it's like, it has breakfast and lunch. The females have to be out by 4, and they can't receive dinner there. But that's kind of a problem too, with them closing at 4. Sam House doesn't let the ladies in for their dinner and to sign up to go to the shelter till 6. So there's like a 2-hour layover where you have ladies waiting around. So it's kind of like the women have like an hour to 2 hours where they really have nowhere to go. They just kind of stand outside of the building waiting to get in. And then there's 3 or 4 buses for the women, and there's a lot more for the men. There's a lot more men in the men's shelters, but they also like have, I want to say the shelters are better. They have real beds at like almost all their facilities, and the women's shelter has like cots and like the old, I guess, donated like hospital mats. And yeah, it's...
Do you know if now at the shelters, if they're spacing out the beds 6 feet? Do you know if that's happening?
I know after a video came out about a supervisor like abusing a client, that they started advertising pictures from another shelter, because they have a chain of the Catholic Charities, so whoever their PR is making it look like that's where they're staying, but that is not where the Denver E-Flow is what you see in the video. It's the cots that are, they're still together like that. no spacing of 6 feet. They really don't have, I guess you'd say, the option, because then they'd have to have less people come in there, which would make more people stay outside.
And can you talk a little bit more about that supervisor at the Samaritan House, was it?
Calvin. So I've been back and forth through homelessness for like 3 years. This is like my third time kind of being back down here, and I got to meet Calvin, which I've also been told by the community used to work at the Denver Rescue Mission. Now he works at Sam House, and he also claims that he's an ex-police officer. Very tall guy, never really liked his energy towards people. It kind of seemed like he's one of those guys that like he likes positions of power because it makes him feel some kind of way as a person. But I've gotten 2 DNRs, which is a do not return, for trying to report a 15-time convicted rapist that didn't register and was wanted because they were harassing my girlfriend. And one day that person was whispering in Calvin's ear drama, and right then and there I was like, can you, like, I was trying to get coffee, I'm right there, so I confronted it right then and there. I'm like, if you want to talk about it, we can all go talk about it, but I don't appreciate you bringing in street drama and whispering it in staff's ear. And I was like, and on top of that, staff isn't supposed to entertain or engage with that. So if you want to talk about this, since I'm hearing you and you're talking to a staff member, we can choose a staff member and go and handle it the way that it's supposed to be according to their system. And it just got me yelled at and DNR threats, and then he doubled it from a week to 2 weeks. So I camped out in a friend's tent because I happen to have a friend that had a tent. But the day after I got DNR'd, they DNR'd a pregnant lady that also got into it with the same person. So luckily I had friends that had a tent, and they let me be and her be in the tent, and we all kind of babysat in the tent with her. But
Would you say they give DNRs or do not returns kind of just casually? They kind of just hand them out?
Yeah, and because, I went back after finding out that DNR was actually for 2 weeks, and I got DNR'd again. I went out to the shelter, and they said that I was DNR'd for something I did in the morning. A bunch of ladies validated the fact that I was sleeping. They watched the footage. Of course, I can't watch the footage, and, I can't watch the footage. But, they told me I had to take the night out anyways, that they would watch the footage, and if it turns out that I wasn't the person that did it, that they would apologize, but I still had to stay the night out anyways. So I was going to go talk to my girlfriend at the time, and I got threatened with a DNR for talking to my girlfriend, but I'm like, I have to stay out in the city. We have to have some kind of way of communication. We had one phone at the time, so not even that, I was calming her down because she was quite ecstatic, erratic, doesn't matter, not in my life anymore. But the whole point was just to create that, that was kind of petty. And then when we went to go check on that one got doubled too, to a month instead of 2 weeks. So every time I get a DNR, they double it. And that was also told to the new staff member, like Calvin had something to do with that too, because he was on staff that morning. So that, for me personally, it's like anytime I try to even get him to do his job or report anything, it ends up in me getting DNR'd. And then a couple days ago, I got told that he assaulted someone, and then saw the video, because apparently me recording things over the years has inspired other people to record things. So that's kind of cool that it got outed, because I've heard that he got fired, which also kind of backs up the idea you can get fired. You got a video of assaulting a woman, which is illegal, and you're not in jail. So DPD won't even, you could see the video, so it's kind of like you won't report crimes. I've tried to report crimes from DPD, and they tell me that I should be thankful to have a place to stay, whether I'm being treated like a decent human being or not, which I don't believe in. I'm like, I can be thankful, but still, I have self-love and self-respect. You're gonna strip me of that, why? That's pretty much all you have out here. If you have that, it's hard to get there,
So you'd say that you feel safer and happier and more self-respect staying outside?
I'm less stressed out being on the streets and dealing with the possibility of engaging with cops at any time than I won't even go in there to eat. And I could. I'm not DNR'd anymore, and even with the DNR I could go and grab. I just don't want to go over there. I've kind of been dealing with them off and on for 3 years. different staff members and things, and it's like there's been times where the DNR getting a do not return has really not been in my favor. But I don't know, I'm kind of military smart thanks to my dad, so I know how to survive on a snowy night without any preparations.
Have you ever been told to move along or been like swept by police or public works in Denver?
Yes. The first time I camped out, we kind of had a routine. That's when they were letting us camp at DRM like over a year and a half ago. They would make us break down at like 6 a.m. to clean it, and then we could put it back up.
All right outside
Yeah,
in
that
front
was
of
like a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Now that's closed off, caution off you. That's not okay anymore. So now it seems like camps of different sizes float around. You know, I learned a little bit from that experience. I have a little camp now that I bounce around with, and it depends on who the officer is, because I guess it's like with any job, you can decide how you want to pursue doing your job. Some people would like to force it to the full extent, to the point where they want to visually see us pack up and move, and then they'll leave. Some want to wait till we're done and watch us literally leave. Some are okay with it looking like we're working with them and just dropping the tents during the daytime, but it's never not a problem. It's never not a problem. So
Yeah, you'd rather
they're
not
going to stop and talk to you at least once a week, unless you're like really just found a spot that's like they don't patrol, which is probably not a spot that you want to camp in.
And I actually want to pull up the exact language in the order that Mayor Hancock
More great areas and blurred lines.
yeah, in the stay-at-home order Mayor Hancock issued on Monday that went into effect yesterday at 5 p.m. He mentions that it's not that it doesn't apply to unhoused people, and it does say I'm going to try to find the exact language here. Let me see. It says, let's find it. Wow, this is hard to find. The document itself is 12 pages long.
Yeah, I read like a brief summary of it on Denver Almost Out Loud, and she had like a printout with a brief summary of it.
What did you get out of the order?
It seems like what he was trying to get to and talking circles around, because that's politics. People talk circles. It seems like to make it seem okay, because if like you see an officer out with a camp, they're trying to be like, we're not going to make you move, but we still have the cleaning crew out, which that's all fine and dandy. I get that he said that. Like, that's the point where he's getting at. Like, oh, we won't ask him to move during the quarantine period of time, but we're still going to have officers out to check on us probably and, clean things up. But the problem I have with that is not even a couple hours ago, I literally, saw a cop attempting to move a camp and writing her a verbal warning. So it's like actions versus words. Either that, or maybe, the police officers aren't fully informed all the way around of how they're enforcing it, which I can understand that, because it seems like for the last 3 months we aren't. It's just going back and forth to the point where it's becoming a lot of blurred lines.
Yeah, so, and they weren't saying that she could move temporarily and come back. It was like, you need to just move. Or
2 days in a row they've been trying to get her to move, and we've pretty much have stuck together between local organizations and some communities out here to the point where she hasn't had to move, and she keeps her area clean and everything, and it's not in front of someone's house.
So I'm just going to read this section really quick. On page 4 of the order, it starts with, consistent with the governor's executive order declaring a state of disaster emergency, the mayor's declaration of local disaster emergency, CDC's guidance, and pursuant to the authority granted the executive director of the Denver Department of Public Health and Environment in Section 2416 of the Denver Revised Municipal Code, the following is ordered. All individuals anywhere in the city and county of Denver are ordered to stay at their place of residence. To the extent individuals are using outdoor spaces, they must at all times, as reasonably possible, maintain physical distance of at least 6 feet from any other person when they are outside their residence. And then it goes on to say, individuals experiencing homelessness are exempt from this section, but are strongly urged to obtain shelter. And governmental and other entities are strongly urged to make such shelter available as soon as possible and to the maximum extent practicable. And then in parentheses, and to use COVID-19 risk mitigation practices in their operation.
So here's the thing, kind of smart. Living out in the tent, I have less contact with people that have a job or go into the shelter. We have less contact than probably any community with other people. So I probably only talk to like 5 people a day and that's it. So I'm not really worried about catching a virus when I really don't engage with anyone, versus if you want to put me in a shelter or a hotel, I'm going to have a lot more engagement. So it's kind of like really in a statistical world that moving us somewhere only increases our chances of catching the COVID virus, especially having an autoimmune disease like I do. So it's just kind of like, yeah. And like at the same time with the CDC, like there's companies like Mutual Aid Denver doing wash stations and stuff. So they also have like Liberty, the big mainstream company, like has their corporate thing. One of the best porta potties, has wash stations all over Denver in general. But like our camp's clean, we're clean, like no one is really sick. I'm sick, but that's from being in the shelter. Like it's not from being out here. So,
can you talk about that a little bit?
I'm not quite sure if they have a ventilation system or it's just like doctors say you kind of get an environment with people that have different levels of hygiene and immune systems, lots of germs. Your immune system kind of gets attacked very strong. But I have a habit of getting pneumonia almost every year that I'm in there during the seasonal change, which pretty much means I get to be sick for 6 weeks. But took antibiotics, it's clearing up now, I'm near the end of it, but like having an autoimmune disease and having just got sick and actually having to take antibiotics, like I know my immune system's like extremely low right now, so it's kind of like, you could put me in a hotel, because I know they're sourcing hotels, I would go there, and you know, I could stay in my room, and I'm pretty good at social distancing, kind of an at-home type person when I have one, but a lot of people aren't going to stay in a hotel room if you get them a hotel room. They're going to invite other people. So I'm just saying, it's the homeless population. If you put them in the hotel room, they're going to have fun like it's home. Like, so you're really just putting them into an environment where they're going to invite people over to try to help them with, you know, showers and all that stuff, versus if you just leave them in the tent, they're probably just going to hang out with whatever 1, 2, or 3 people. I mean, there's some huge camps that I wish could be more conscious of their environment, because it's like, not only like can you kill the grass and stuff and people have to clean that up, but it's like when it becomes like nasty, you have to breathe that in, and it's pretty windy in Denver, so it's kind of like ew.
But of course, if they were providing affordable housing,
it's not
then
even
maybe
the affordable housing. I mean, it is, and it's out there, and there's a lot of slumlord issues, but for some people, like, they're self-medicating for depression, and when you self-medicate and then you stop, you have withdrawals, which puts you into a deeper depression, and it's a vicious cycle. And like, some can try to go get help, but certain kinds of help don't help for people. And I think people need to just be more aware, like, people are experiencing trauma out here when they probably already were experiencing trauma. So there's some people in some really low places, and it's going to take more than, hey, I'm going to put you in an apartment to fix that. because I've seen people that have gotten housed and the inside of their apartments look like outside, and there's been people that have gotten housed like me where, looks like a holistic freaking shop in there, but I'm getting my apartment flooded and no heat and AC for like 2 months. You can get slumlorded too, so it's like anything can happen. Housing people, yes, would be great. It's a little bit more stability, but there's a lot of people out here with problems that put them here, and then this traumatized them, and then you go into the shelters and you get a whole nother dose of trauma. You can walk down the street here and see something that you'll probably never forget. And it's not like people mean to be a certain way out here. And I've heard from the community that a lot of people are scared of the homeless, and it's just like, I understand being scared of what you don't understand, but I don't think any homeless person really has the intention to hurt anyone. They are hurt and they make mistakes. So
all people make mistakes, though, right?
Yeah, it's a big trauma thing. It's not just like finances or gentrification. It's just like our country kind of wasn't very nurturing to its own or anyone else, and it comes back around. This is the result of us focusing on industry and electronics and cell phones versus mental health and diet, and we're like, get over it, instead of, hey, get through it, heal. Just get over it, you'll get over it. You might not. You might need more than just to get over it. Like, tough love doesn't work for everyone. You can damage people.
Another point I wanted to ask about restroom availability. So since all the public libraries closed and certain businesses are closing or cutting their hours, I heard folks have been needing to use some like interesting ways to go to the bathroom because there aren't any restrooms.
Yeah, innovation is real. It's like innovation and creativity. You'll see it everywhere through homelessness. It's actually beautiful if you just take the time to get past all the stuff that people do and be non-judgmental. You'll find out there's some really creative, talented people out here in so many different ways. But there's Union Station. You can go use the bathroom, but they shut down to clean between 1:30 and 3:30, and you'd have to want to walk to Union Station.
How far is that from here? I can't even.
Maybe like 10 blocks.
Okay, so it's pretty far. It's a walk.
Yeah. And then, you can find random porta potty maybe somewhere and use that. There's a few of them. And if you're feeling brave, you can find a construction site and, do it for your bladder. But, I don't know, I had a friend at camp that kind of created an idea. You can get a pee cup and go toss it out so you're not exposing yourself in public, for one, because that's a major concern and complaint from residents. So we're trying to figure out ways to not be peeing and pooping outside, or making it obvious that people are having to use and relieve themselves outside. And as far as number 2, you just get a bag and tie it up and throw it away. Get your own tissue. It is what it is. I think it's weird, but I feel more comfortable. If you were camping out in the wilderness or whatever, you'd have a bucket or whatever, stuff like that. But I feel more comfortable doing it that way than outside. It's kind of gross.
And have you heard of the city working on installing any 24-hour public restrooms, more?
At one point, they have a laundry truck and stuff like that. They had a bathroom truck, but I haven't seen it in a long time. They used to have a mobile restroom, and they had a few, and they'd be parked different places. But also, after a while, I kind of seen that there were more parked near bars at night, so it wasn't really kind of for the homeless community. It was just public restrooms to be in outside of bars, which already have bathrooms in them. So I didn't really understand that concept. It was interesting. But like I said, I haven't seen one in a while, and I don't know if they do that anymore, because they had a shower truck at one point too. So there's been people that have tried, but a lot of these companies and stuff are people getting donations or using what little bit of money they have to give back. I have a few that have 501c3s, but a lot of those are actually Catholic Charities and Denver Rescue Mission, and they cipher money. There's no doubt about it. They cipher money, a whole nother story, but and most of it's running off of donations and grassroots companies. So it's people, the middle class that's disappearing, is actually trying to help the homeless and the upper class. Like, I would say some are too, because there's some huge donations, but it's not as big in their circle. Like, it's not as widespread. Like, there's one person spending a lot of chunk of money, but it's not like the popular thing to do. They do it for tax credit.
What else would you say has been done as far as the city or city workers in light of the COVID pandemic and the stay-at-home order? Like, have there been like any like outreach teams or like have there been contact by people other than like saying that they might need area to do like street cleaning? And
I've seen Park and Rec out a lot more often cleaning up. They just clean up, pick up, and ask us if we need trash bags or anything, because our camp is clean. We clean up after ourselves, so they just ask if we need trash bags because they don't have to clean our camp. They're just like, you need more bags? But yeah, they're going around and cleaning more often, and if your camp is clean, they'll give you some trash bags so you can keep it that way. It's the same trash bags you can get from DPD. They're big and orange. So if you're ever wondering where, that's where they come from. But no, they're pretty humble.
Have there been any other changes that you can think of since the stay-at-home order, or like, I guess because public libraries are closed and those are areas where a lot of folks like go during the day? Have you noticed like more people outside, or like what other changes have you noticed?
I kind of like, it's not that I noticed more people outside. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like I think we're all just like wandering around because it's like summer. So like some people, don't really need a camp set up. They just need a sleeping bag. So I kind of think, I hate to say it because they're supposed to be staying inside and all that stuff, but the homeless are pretty much just walking around enjoying Denver being kind of empty and dead. It's not like, some are freaked out and paranoid about the virus, but I mean, like me, I'm not really paranoid about it. I know how to avoid people and 6 foot away distance, and I don't know. It's not really a bad thing for me. I'm kind of like, I hope everyone the best. I'm gonna stay in my tent. Can you just leave me here? It's like a maybe possible 1 to 2 weeks I don't have to be bothered. Possibly, hopefully. Because I'm like, me moving around and us moving camp around really, like, it's not gonna do anything. Like, we're not gonna go inside. So even if there wasn't a virus like thing going around, we wouldn't go inside. Like, it's pretty chaotic. Like, they had the mental shelter Holly shut down because they thought, not for sure, but people had symptoms. They had to shut it down for 2 days, I would assume, for like a major cleaning. And it's like, that right there was enough for people to be like, okay, going into the shelters is not a smart idea, but going outside, you kind of have to play whack-a-mole with the police. You pop up one place, they tell you move, you pop up another place.
And the Holly shelter is the emergency shelter for Denver Rescue Mission?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And
yep.
they had people with symptoms there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never got any clarification on that, but I know they were shut for 2 days, and I would assume it's for mass cleaning, like disinfectant and stuff, but...
Do you have anything else you want to add?
Not really.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for talking and for sharing your thoughts and experiences.
You're welcome. I'm willing to talk about it with whoever, and someone kind of has to, because there's a lot of assuming. Like, people assume like homeless are different, and I'm like, the only difference is like you do what you do behind a door and walls, and sometimes we're outside or in tents, but it's literally all the same. There's people that have 9-to-5s in houses that have trauma and self-medicate with alcohol or any kind of the same stuff out here. It's like literally all the same. I used to DJ and do art stuff around here. I've been on both sides of it my whole life. The drugs just change, the people change, the names of the clothes change. Like, bicycle, car, tent, house, it just it's kind of all the same. And I think when people see that, they'll like get it. Like, people want to complain because we're sitting on a plot of grass on the other side of the sidewalk, and it's like, they're like, oh, we have to clean it because we own the property, so we're responsible for it. I guess that's the big thing that the community is trying to say now. And it's like, maybe if you came out and like talked to the good camps and people saw the good camps getting harassed less and less for being clean, it would inspire other camps to put in the effort. Because kind of like in school, you want your kid to do good. If you have a few kids, the oldest kid isn't doing good, it kind of follows down. It's kind of a lead by example type thing. It's just gonna have to take people stepping up and not being scared of the homeless community. Like, there's nothing really to be scared of.
Awesome. Thank you so much for talking, Portia.
Good. And I'm kicking the camera again.
I'm just gonna scan that way and do an outro. Awesome. Thanks everyone for watching. This is Alex with Unicorn Riot. I just interviewed Portia, who has been living outside for a little while, and she talked about how she feels a lot safer and happier and less stressed out living outside rather than in shelters. And so fortunately, folks on the streets have been allowed to stay living outside even during this stay-at-home order by Denver Mayor Hancock that was issued on Monday but went into effect almost 24 hours ago. And yeah, we'll keep you all updated about the COVID pandemic situation across the country, but also how it's affecting marginalized populations. And you can stay updated on our website at unicornriot.ninja. If you appreciate our work, we also have a 5-year of Unicorn Riot fundraiser right now, because we've been doing this work for 5 years, and we are only able to do what we do through donations and grants. Like, we are a nonprofit, so any support that you can give is really appreciated. Even just sharing our content is much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching.